Hello and welcome to Conversations Under the Canopy. My name is Michelle Martin and I am the host for this morning's program and have been part of the Canopy team for over 8 years. I work within the customer success management team, providing our clients proactive services and solutions for their teams. I am also a certified international health coach and support Canopy's health and wellness initiatives, providing resources on topics such as whole body health, mindfulness, sleep hygiene, meditation, and more. This is our second year providing this series. If you are new to Conversations, it's a series of short sessions where we speak with Canopy and industry experts to help us learn about services and valuable insights in the world of employee well-being, engagement, and performance. This program is being recorded. We'll have time at the end for questions, but please feel free to type your questions in the chat. After the presentation, we'll follow up with a survey and a presentation handout, and your feedback would be greatly appreciated. Our guest today is one of my Canopy colleagues, Caitlin Plato. Caitlin is the Director of Training and Development at Canopy and has a master's in trauma counseling and is a certified alcohol and drug counselor. She is also an integrated Reiki practitioner. Welcome, Caitlin.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So when we think of effective leadership, we first need to think about the workplace as a whole. So what do employees need right now?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, as I have worked with organizations and talked to leadership, HR, that employees need, and you can see on the slide here as well, that sense of support, flexibility, consistency, but that empathy and honesty is such a key component of feeling like they can trust leadership, that there's some transparency when decisions are made at the organization. And so they are included in that conversation and understand when and why changes are happening. We see constant change, and a lot of times that's what leaders are looking to support employees around, and having that empathy around change being challenging, which can also lead to burnout. So supporting those employees and validating the stress of that. And that also comes through that effective communication. So being able to communicate that in a way to individuals and to groups of employees who may have questions or who may be struggling or stressed or burnt out. And so I see this a lot as leaders looking to get more support around what we would kind of call those soft skills, so to speak, that are not always taught or provided as much kind of education around for leaders as they move into the leadership position. And so that's really the piece that I like to really help leaders with, is the emotional intelligence piece. And what I see here is when we think about the additional component of how do we motivate employees? Because that's another question I get from leadership. We have our employees here, but how do we have them stay motivated? And I have provided this list to leaders oftentimes as a way to think about, how do you think your employees would answer some of these questions? And also, how can we measure those things? So one of the challenges with the soft skills and emotional intelligence and communication is, how are we measuring if we are achieving those skills as leaders? And so sometimes it can be, are my employees coming to me if they have questions or concerns? Are employees feeling like they can speak up in a meeting even if they have a different opinion than us? That is some of these indicators of some psychological safety, which is what we're looking for. And so thinking about, as you look at this list, how would my employees answer this? In my opinion, are there ways we can ask employees more questions to gather that information? And what can we potentially do to increase some of that trust and transparency?
In this case, silence is not golden. You definitely want conversations happening.
Yes.
So as the customer success manager, I have lots of conversations about the demands of leadership, but as the director of training and development, what are you hearing are the most common leadership requests?
Yeah, I would say that currently, and certainly for a while, it's been how to support employees, and this kind of goes under that effective communication uh, through burnout. So how do we support employees who are burnt out? And kind of leading into that, oftentimes when employees are feeling more burnt out, that may lead to performance issues. So how do I have a difficult conversation? That is one of the biggest challenges leaders are sometimes faced with of, I know I need to have this conversation with this person, but I don't know how to because it's going to be a more difficult conversation. And so figuring out how to have those one-on-one conversations. Also, I will have leaders say, we don't have very good morale right now, or we have employees who aren't getting along. How do we support some of those that morale and that psychological safety, which part of it comes into how are we as leaders setting boundaries, which that oftentimes is misinterpreted as, boundaries is sometimes seen as we don't care, but effective boundaries actually creates a lot more safety at an organization. And so a lot of this, again, is how to have effective, open conversations with people, whether it's about something positive, negative, or neutral. And then also I do a lot of work with folks who are new to leadership, who are like, I've worked here for a long time, but I haven't been a people manager before. And now I'm suddenly trying to deal with these things that I haven't had a lot of training in. And so it is really a lot of those kind of soft skills, as I said.
Especially that boundary setting with new leaders, like they've been friends
Yes.
with all their coworkers and now they have to lead them. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yep. Yeah. I was just having a conversation, and I know we'll talk about this, but I do individual one-on-one leadership coaching, and I was just doing leadership coaching with a new leader specifically about that. She had taken over a team of people that she'd been working with as a colleague for years and was trying to figure out how to navigate that transition.
Yeah, and that's an excellent transition to our next slide. Really just talking about all these growing leadership trends and how we have, your team has really set aside some time this year to grow and develop that. So how can Canopy support leadership?
Yeah, exactly like you said, we have really been looking to be more proactive around supporting leaders. I think in the past there were some trainings we offered that were for leaders, but I, again, have just seen such an uptick in leaders needing additional support. And so there, and probably many people here are familiar with it, but we have our member site through our website, and there are a number of just accessible, immediately accessible individual resources for leaders on there. I have a whole series of short micro training videos on there, but there's also self-paced click-through trainings. But I also, kind of like I'd mentioned before, do offer individual, it looks like, yeah, Michelle put that up in the chat as well, of how to access that member site. And then my one-on-one leadership coaching, those are 1 hour sessions. Those are virtual only. They're $175 an hour. And I've had a really, really big increase in those sessions. I have some leaders who just need a one-off and others who I've been working with for months now. And so it really depends on what that preference is of what folks are wanting to use that for. Very commonly, I get folks using that, again, for all of those things that I was talking about on those earlier slides. But it's nice if people really want to have it be very personal and specific to their leadership goals. And we have the Leadership 101 training. That's a 4 hour virtual training, and it's appropriate for longer term leaders or new leaders. It is an overview and an all-encompassing, what are some baseline skills we need to have in terms of the communication, interpersonal skills as leaders. And there's also some structure around how to handle, performance reviews, that type of thing. We have our 8 hour mental health support and response for leaders. And that is, very much more in depth and specific to kind of that mental health support to employees. You can find all sorts of other trainings that we do at that link on there. And Canopy also provides the management consultation. So our 800 number, which is 24/7, leaders can call that number anytime and speak to a clinician if they are having an immediate concern or an immediate question about a need related to one or more employees.
And I've taken that mental health support and resource course, and it is incredibly helpful, really in depth, and I could see it'd be a great benefit for leaders to have that skill set.
Yeah. For sure.
And if you have questions about how to access any of this information, you can reach out to your customer success manager or the 800 number. And we do want to open this up to questions. I definitely want to make some time for that. So if there are questions from anybody, please feel free to use the chat function, or I believe you can come off mute and ask the conversation by joining the question or joining the conversation. While we're waiting, if I don't see any questions here, but if I do, I'll bring them up. I have heard so much about quiet quitting, and even this morning about revenge quitting. What would you say is the core of that trend?
I did want to quickly check. It looks like Claudia has their hand up.
I can hold my question because I'm very interested in the question that Michelle just asked. So thank you. You can come back to me.
Yeah, so quickly what I'll say to that is, I think the trend with, at least what I've seen with especially younger generations, there's a shift away from kind of a long-term loyalty to a company, and employees are wanting and expecting a certain level of their workplace to accommodate different needs for employees, and are willing to move to different companies based on if that company is going to meet those needs. And so I would say that retention is a big piece of that. And I've seen a lot of that shift happening where some companies were remote and now they're moving to maybe in person again. And employees are at a place of saying, if I don't want to do that, I'll go somewhere else. So I see that as kind of an indicator of potentially, that employees are much more willing to advocate and speak up for what they need and move on if they're not going to get it.
Claudia.
Thank you. Can you touch again on the mental health support and response for leaders? Is that included in our subscription with Canopy? And did I hear that it's maybe an 8-hour training, or did I mix up a bunch of things I was hearing?
No, so it is 8 hours.
Okay.
It does come at a fee, so it's not
Okay.
included in the free hours. For the trainings under the contract, the free hours for companies' contracts, however many each company has, can be used towards any of our general 1-hour topics. For the longer trainings, those are at a fee. So we would discuss that upon request in terms of what that looked like for the organization.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and that's a great question for your customer success managers. So you could always ask that question and they can give you a quote.
Wonderful. I will reach out to Kelsey today.
Nice, very good. Okay, well, in the interest of time, I definitely want to be cognizant of everyone's time, but thank you so much, Caitlin, for sharing your expertise. I know we've been working together a lot of years, and I'm just always, I should say I'm never shocked at how much of a wealth of knowledge that you are. So thank you for sharing that. And
Thanks for having me.
Thank you everyone for joining us today. And we hope you will join us for the next conversation, which we will be launching our 3rd year of Conversations Under the Canopy. And we'll be discussing on how to prepare your organization with the new year with a mental health mindset. So we'll have a lot of information, and we have some really cool news coming up. Next year is Canopy's 50-year anniversary. So we'll be sharing some new information that we have coming up for the next year. So stay tuned for that follow-up email and invitation to join. So until next time, everyone, take care and thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Take care.